Hi, everybody. Let me just share my screen. I did put the link to this in the chat, but just in case it didn't, I did pin it. But just in case, I will copy and paste it in again. Righty, no problem. Don't worry. Okay, so the slide deck is there for you. You can see that. Let me just start presenting. Let me see. There you go. I think you can see that all now. Let me move that up. There we go. Maybe make that just a tad smaller. There we go. Okay. So, first of all, this is welcome. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the challenges and benefits of using AI, the whys and what fors. And then we are going to do a task at the end. There is a lesson planning tool that we're just going to walk through. Now, some of the tools and that we have shown in the past, somebody's got a mic on that is like, I hear you cooking and whatever. We've talked a lot about tools and tips. We've talked about Conmigo can do lesson plans for you. We talked about Brisk can do lesson plans for you. Copilot can do lesson plans for you. So there's a lot of tools out there, but there's one piece we haven't talked about yet is how to make sure that we're aligning all of those tools to what it is that we're supposed to be doing in the classroom. So we're going to talk about that today, and that's going to be like a little task that we do. But I just wanted to share that this is the AFT National has got a group of people together to write some PDs that we will be sharing nationally into a lot of different districts. And it's a series of 3 right now, more to come. This is the first in the series. I'm very privileged to be able to be part of the design team for these 3. And I was the lead for this one. So it's really near and dear to my heart to talk about the kind of ethics behind it and to really deeply understand why we do and what is it we're using and how we use it appropriately. So that's what this session is all about. This is the mission statement that you've seen before, probably from the AFT, that we are promising, to provide supports for our high quality public education. We also support for collective bargaining, organizing, community engagement, all sorts of other things. But just with either in the chat room or with just a raise of hands, whichever one you want to do. I just have to move this over a little bit because I don't need to see all that. There we are. I want to be able to see you instead of all that nonsense. That's better. Or in the chat if you want. Just shout out. Tell me with like a number 1, you're new to AI. You still feel like you're fairly new to AI. 2 is you've tried it a little bit, so it's kind of coming along. Or the 3, which is the I love you sign, is you like AI and you like it a lot, you use it a lot. So I see videos on now, so just give me a finger. 2s, 3s. Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about the background of some stuff today. So these are the couple things that we're going to do tonight. We are going to just think about what AI literacy means. That is a specific term. It is something that we really do need to think about. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. There we go. You can see it now. We're going to explore some ways that you can promote it within your classrooms and even with your colleagues if you want to, and some opportunities for incorporating AI either with your students or just in your practice. If you do have to think about your district and your district policies in Cranston. We can use AI with our high school students. So it's at the discretion of the teacher. That's what our policy says, at the discretion of the teacher. And if the teachers want to assign a task that has the students using AI, they have to use AI that is approved by the district, but we're a Google district, Gemini is approved. They're allowed to do that. We do not do that for our elementary or our middle school students, although our middle school students at the grade 8 are using Canva. Canva is an AI-powered platform now, so that is their introduction to AI in Cranston is by using Canva. So we're going to talk about some ways that we incorporate it, and then we're going to share some ideas like what have you done, what would you like to be able to do, and I'm going to show you some grade level standards when you can think about how best to use it. Okay, so this is basically what we're doing. I already talked about it. Literacy, digital citizenship, different than literacy. Making AI, how to use AI to make some classroom connections. We're going to show you how to do some lesson planning. And then we're going to talk just a little bit about some reflections. That's our agenda tonight. We are working virtually. So like I said, I got to get rid of this a little bit. So there you go. I do encourage you to keep your cameras on so we can see each other, especially since it's a small group. Keep your sound muted unless you want to talk. This is a very small group, so you don't need to raise your hand. You don't need to do anything. Just unmic and you're welcome to start talking. Go ahead and interrupt me. It's easier that way. Let's make this more of a conversation. You can use the chat if you want to, but you can see that I'm alone tonight. Pete's not here, so monitoring the chat's a little bit more difficult. If you want to raise your hand, you can, but just feel free to join in the conversation. So we've done the Slido before. So if you want to use your cameras to do that, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you want to just talk about this, or do you want to actually use Slido, the polling system? Yes, I want to use polling system, or no, I'd rather just have a conversation. Give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay,
I think conversation is great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is give me some shout outs. So everybody turn your mics on. Give me some shout outs of some of the things that you think AI is good for education. What is it good for?
Differentiation.
Differentiation, number one. Yep.
Creating lesson plans.
Creating lesson plans, probably number two.
Generating ideas.
It helps us to generate ideas. If you don't know what you want to really do with something, or you're not really particularly sure about a particular content. One of the things that when I think of generating ideas is if I get asked to cover a class, or if we have somebody else that's asking to cover a class, and you might be a math teacher and you're asking to cover social studies, you see what the content is, you can go in and you can get some information and quick background on that content so you don't look like you don't know what you're talking about. That's always a nice thing. Any other ideas? Ways that you use AI?
Oh, one that I was using recently with the librarians in my other PD that I just did was generating good questions for classroom discussions.
Oh, good. So you just put in the topic and
and it created great questions for how to get the class discussing. So I thought that was a really good, helpful.
Perfect. Yeah. So a grade level, a content area, and a prompt for discussion starters is awesome. You're right. It does come up with great questions. Clearly, you have to edit. Some questions are better than others. Some are more appropriate than others. But yeah, it's a great way of doing that. That's perfect. Any other comments before we move on?
I front-loaded some vocab words yesterday, and I took all those vocab words and just dragged it and put them in the, oh my God, what's that tool that you gave us to make the booklet? I just dragged them all in, and I said to make a booklet, and it made all the words, put it right in there, and it reinforced everything that I was saying in the course of the day. So it's good.
Okay. So one of the things that we talk about when we think about literacy and digital citizenship is the standards came from both ISTE, the International Society for Tech Educators, from Microsoft. So this is kind of a combination graphic from both of them. I didn't create it. It's a combination of those. But when we're talking about ethics, it's the transparency. We want to make sure when we talk about transparency, kids know exactly what it is that we want them to do with AI if we're giving them the tool to do. We want to make sure, especially with our high school kids, that they understand that there are rules to the road here, that we want to be respectful. We want to include everybody in the conversation. We want to make sure that we're not disparaging anybody. And those skills start in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all of our elementary grades. By the time they get to our secondary schools where they're actually using the AI, and I think AI will be used at younger grades or, our middle school grades at some point, but they should have those skills already. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about when I talk about this grade level standards later on. We've talked a little bit about bias and fairness. Everybody needs to understand that when they use AI, that it can generate information that is either biased or not quite fair to one particular group or another. It's getting much better. So when it first came out, there was bias all over the place. The best example I can give is that last spring, Google actually shut down Gemini image maker for a while because the images were coming out to be very much all white people. And so if you typed in a prompt to Gemini's image maker and you were asking for people, you didn't get a response. If you wanted a dog, you could get it. You want a table or a lamp, you could get it, but not people. So I credit Google for saying, oh, I got to take time out here. We have a problem, Houston, and we're going to fix it. And it took them about 3 weeks, and they redid their algorithm. It's amazing it took them that long to do it, but they had to redo their algorithm, and they got it to work. So now that you can get pictures and images of people that are representative of the community. That's a wonderful thing. But we all need to understand that bias and fairness is an issue. And some of the responses that you get from AI may be tilted one way or the other. It is up to all of the users, students and teachers alike, to be looking at what the AI is producing and being reflective of that and see, does that meet what I would expect to be happening in my classroom? Is this the conversation I really want to have? And if not, ask it to reprompt. The other piece is the reliability and safety of AI. So it's has gotten much better. When it first came out, it was like the wild, wild west. And Pete and I were playing with it a lot, and we were like, oh, that's really wrong, or that's really right, and there's a lot of gray in the middle. But it's much safer now. When you look at a lot of the programs that are powered by AI, the privacy settings on those are much better than they were. Like I said, it used to be the Wild West where there were really no privacy. If you clicked on a tool that was powered by AI, your data could be going anywhere. Now they all have privacy policies. I haven't really seen anything recently when I look at different AI sites that doesn't have a privacy policy. Usually you have to, when you open a new AI platform, scroll down to the bottom. It's always at the bottom. Check the privacy settings. And I'm going to tell you a couple of things to look for. Look for FERPA and COPA. Those are the U.S. privacy laws to protect all of us, and especially students. So if it doesn't say that it's COPA and FERPA regulated or aligned, I personally would not use that site. The other thing we look at is try and find out who owns the site and that it's a U.S. company. Because if it's not a U.S. company, it means the data that is entered into the platform, your email addresses, your IP address, whatever you're using on that platform, whatever it's creating for you, is bouncing from server to server to server, and it lands wherever the home of that business is. So I've had some of my teachers that will submit a request for a tech platform, and the tech team in Cranston will look at it, and that's what we do. We look for the privacy, and we have found things that will bounce from Seattle. Then it bounces to Germany and Russia and China and the UK, and it lands in Malaysia. Well, that's a hard no for us. If it's going to be all that bouncing, all of those countries now have access to your data. And of course, when we're talking about students, we do not want their data out there at all. So it really is important for that reliability and safety piece that we all get educated on how to check for, to make sure that our sites are private. So it's really a simple task. Go on to any platform that you're using that you think, oh, this looks like fun. Let me see if I can try that. Okay, well, before you try it, scroll and look for privacy, look for FERPA, COPA, and see where the home base of that company is. I just did one the other day that said Seattle, and everything was Seattle, 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 Seattle. And then I got to the very bottom, and I thought, oh, this was fine. It's a U.S. company. It's based in Seattle. It's housing its data in Seattle. It's fine. And then at the very bottom it says we back up our storage in the UK. I'm like, okay, nope, I don't want it backed up in the UK. Then to go to accountability. Accountability is basically holding the students accountable for how they're using it. If you give directions to students about how to use the AI, then you have to set up a protocol, a rubric, or whatever it is, and this is what you can and you cannot do with it, and then you need to reinforce those protocols. Think about the beginning of the school year when you are telling students, this is how the homework is going to get put into the bin for homework, and this is where the materials are for you to do projects and whatever in your classroom. This is our bathroom policy. This is our lineup policy. Whatever your policies and protocols are that you do this first 6 weeks of school, this is another one, is how to protect your privacy when you're online. You don't put your emails into anything unless I tell you to. You should be using your Google Classroom. Most of us are Google, so you should be using your Google Classroom. Stay within your Google Classroom. If you're going to go out onto the website for something, you make sure you check with your teacher first. So set whatever it is that your protocols are. If you're in a high school, it's I'm going to give you a task, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do with that task and what AI sites that you can or cannot use. So yes, you can use Canva to create your presentation, and within Canva, it'll write for you, it'll create images for you, it'll create your slide deck for you. You can use all of that, but you have to make sure that you are fact checking everything. Here's the rubric that I'm going to score you on. Make sure you're aware of that. So it's just setting up, when I say accountability and the privacy and security, that all kind of ties together, because you're telling kids exactly what your protocols are about how to use AI, and that's really important. So those are the basic standards from both Microsoft, kind of integrated Microsoft and the International Society for Tech Educators. So then I just want to talk a little bit about some challenges. Now we know that there are a lot of challenges, and the first people that had, and still the group of people that have the most challenges are our teachers, who are requiring students to do a lot of writing. So our ELA teachers, our social studies teachers, history teachers, anybody that's asking kids to do a lot of writing, that's problematic, because they can go into an AI bot and they can ask the AI bot to write it, and you can bring it back. Now, we have shared with you some tools in the past that help you with that. The best one out there is what we did last week. And if you weren't at last week we talked, or the last session, whenever it was Brisk. Brisk is the best at that. If you're doing writing tasks and you want to be able to monitor how much they use AI, if at all, Brisk does it the best, because they have that writing coach piece. So you can have the kids upload their work into Writing Coach and actually work within Brisk in Writing Coach. And you can literally see what it is they're doing. How much are they cut and pasting? Large chunks, small chunks? Where are their resources from? So the Writing Coaches platforms for a variety of AI. I mean, Economy has one as well. They have a Writing Coach as well. They have a Reading Coach as well. Microsoft has one as well. They have gotten so much better. There was nothing there to help with monitoring what students were doing with writing when AI first was developed, but it does now. So there are tools out there. So if you're using a lot of writing, if you're doing a lot of writing with kids and you want to monitor how they're doing writing and whether or not they're using AI, my first go-to would be to use Brisk and assign it through Brisk, or Economy, because that will give you some information as well. But right now, the best one is the writing tools within Brisk.
Excuse me, Kathy. I missed the meeting last week. Was that recorded that we could see that? I'd love to watch that.
It is recorded. I don't know whether Pete has posted it yet. Pete does a little editing on the videos and then he posts them.
I didn't see it. So.
Yeah, so he probably has not posted it yet, but it will be posted. I'll remind him tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much.
But it will be posted. The Brisk one was it's a lot of fun. It's a very big platform, and we only covered some of it because in an hour and a half we really can't do it justice, and we were talking really fast. But that one is it's a really great program, and it's free, so great. So yes,
sorry, I just put it in the chat that he just sent it to me this afternoon, so I'll have it up by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, great! But you put the video in the chat?
Did I put the video in the chat? No, I put a message in.
Post it. Okay, thank you. So it'll be posted tomorrow then, Lori. That's fine. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate that. So let's talk a lot. This screen has been up, so you've seen a little bit of these challenges of AI in ed. And if you have some other challenges, please jump in if you have some other ideas. But we talked a little bit about that academic integrity with the writing pieces. That's the hardest piece. Some of our students clearly have an over-reliance on technology. Our high school students, our current sophomores and down, those kids have had access to high quality devices and platforms that talk to them since they started school. So they don't know an educational experience that doesn't include, let me talk to this device, let me ask it to do this. It's just part of and ingrained in them now. We kind of call them like digital natives. They're just used to it. For us, it's another tool for us, but we still will pick up a pen and actually write stuff. But for our kids that are in the early parts of high school, relying on devices is just something that they've grown up with. We were talking with some friends last night about a new book that has come out about like the anxiety of this generation that is like they've lost all of these skills of how to play and how to be imaginative and creative, because instead of doing the play that they used to do with friends out in the backyard until the lights came on, they're on devices. So they're not learning how to share. They're not learning how to do creative play. They're not learning how to resolve conflicts, because they just have these devices in front of them. So that's that over-reliance of technology. We want our kids, and we should still be having our students do collaborative groups where they're talking to each other, that they're solving problems, that they're working off technology. But we have to understand technology is not going to go away. This AI is going to be part of us forever now, and it is going to be part of the workforce. So the students that we're sending out into the world are going to be using AI. So they need to be AI literate, and it's just another thing that we have to make sure that we're giving them exposure to. And, again, change is scary, but I think the fact that we all, whether we like it or not, had to do more technology through COVID kind of brought everybody along. So there aren't many people out there now that can say, I don't know how to open my computer and I don't know what to do with it. COVID really kind of bridged that gap for us. But this now is new again. But a lot of people are talking about AI now. Not everybody is embracing it, and that's fine. But it does have some really helpful tools. And Pete and I have talked about in the past that it can be really time saving for you, but it takes time to learn it. So you have to invest some time to learn the tools, which is why we say pick a platform you like and then stick with it. Because you don't want to have to learn tool after tool after tool. So kind of hit all the rest of those. There are, believe it or not, some more challenges. The ethics that we talked a little bit about, the data privacy. We talked about the bias a little bit. The other big one is the misinformation and deep fakes. And I was just listening as I was eating dinner that I can't even give you specifics of it because it was like on the television as I was trying to cook dinner. But there's a new platform that's coming out that is going to be able to identify misinformation and deep fakes. And I don't know anything else about it, but I'm looking forward to figuring it out. And that might be a session that we do in the fall, because I've been playing with deep fakes for a little bit now, and it's really amazing. Somebody could capture this video, capture me talking, and completely change my image, my background, all can stay the same, and they can completely change what's coming out of my mouth, and it won't look anything different than what this looks like right now. So it is interesting that can happen, but there are ways to figure out whether it is a deep fake. So that always fact checking is important. It's always been important. It's more important now is to fact check. But then, of course, there are definitely benefits. So before I go through some benefits, what are you seeing as benefits of AI? Lesson planning we talked about, finding some information really quick. What are the other benefits of using AI?
I'm thinking maybe
for you
just,
or for your students if you're high school.
Keeping up with the times.
True. Yep.
So that we're aware of what our kids are doing, and they don't have the opportunity to think that they're duping us in any way if we're up on it ourselves.
That's a very good point. Yeah. To make sure that the kids are aware that we are aware.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Okay. So some of the other benefits, like you said, spring forward ideas is absolutely wonderful. Somebody earlier mentioned differentiation. I would say for me, I was a former special educator, then a first grade teacher. For me, I think that's the number one benefit of AI in education is the ability to take something right out of our curriculum. So we're not creating anything new, but I can go into the fourth grade science curriculum and here's an activity or here's a passage that the kids have to read. And I can put that into an AI bot and I can say, I have fourth graders, but I need this at a second grade level as well, because I have some low readers in my classroom. And I also would like something that's expanded that gives kids more information for my above level students. And in minutes, in seconds, it'll generate, 2 more passages for me that are leveled for my kids. I did story writing with first graders the other day, and they generated a whole bunch of ideas. I just typed in their ideas. It generated a story. It was a lovely story, but they could not read it. So I gave them, but they liked the story. So I gave it to them as written. So it had all of their details and everything in it. And then I also had 2 other levels to it. I just brought it down a little bit lower and a little bit lower. And so they could choose which one they wanted. So that's just the differentiation is, for me, I think, is probably the most powerful piece. It also is, well, when I say adaptable to the needs of the class, what I mean by that is that whether you're, if you're the inclusion teacher, you can adapt materials for your special needs youngsters. If you're the MLL teacher and you have multi-language learners in your classroom, you can adapt materials for them because there's translations are amazing nowadays. Again, 2 years ago, we have changed so quickly. But you really can. And then again, I refer to kids as my unique learners because everybody's unique. So I have my kids that need a little bit more assistance. I have my kind of average group, and I always have those kids that are above average. But when you think about unique learners, I also think about my kids that are artistic and they really want opportunities to draw, or my kids who like music that want to incorporate music, or my kids that really want to be able to write because they like to write. So when I think about adaptable to the needs of the class, I think about how when I was a special ed teacher, this would have been so helpful for me because I always tried to adjust my lessons in so many different ways to meet everybody where they were and on topics that they were interested in. You talked about it's a thought partner. Absolutely. It does create materials. It can create rubrics, in Economy-Go or in Brisk. It will create rubrics for you so that students can be very precise for students about what it is that your expectations are. It can grade for you. Depends on whether or not you like that grading or not. And if you choose to have it grade for you, again, you need to make sure that its grading would be the same as your grading and kind of proofread that as well. But the grading systems have gotten much better, so they're really good. If you upload your rubric and then upload a student piece of work, it will grade it for you on that rubric. And many people are saying that it's gotten much better and much closer to what they as a teacher would do. Somebody mentioned the discussion. Ellen, was that you? Like questions that you did? Generating questions is probably one of my favorite things to do. Whenever I teacher, I walk into a classroom. I coach in a lot of different classrooms. Whenever I walk into a classroom, and I spend 2 minutes to figure out what the teacher is talking about, and then I go into AI and say, "Can you tell me some questions I can ask students who are learning about X, Y, and Z?" And now I've got a list of questions, and I can walk around the class and say, "So, what? It's beyond the." I used to always say, "So, what are you learning, and why are you learning it?" Right? That was the old. Way of just kind of checking in with kids. Well, now I can be much more specific. Like, so you're doing this, and why are you doing that? And but what about this part? So that is really helpful, and it's very, very, very simple. The writing prompts idea, amazing. It really will. You give it a topic, and it'll give you very creative writing prompts. And I'll be honest with you, it creates writing prompts that I would probably never have considered. But again, you have to make sure that they're appropriate for your grade level, your content area. But to put in a topic and say, I want like a dozen different writing prompts on this particular topic, and give it a little bit of a detail, and it'll come up with them. And those are pretty amazing. So that's a definite benefit because it gets us to think outside the box. And if you've been teaching a content area for a really long time, you might want some just new ideas or connect it to current events or which can be scary nowadays, but connect it to current events. And the last benefit is, whether we like it or not, we are required to prepare students for the workplace, and AI is going to be in every workplace. I think there are very few that doesn't have AI touching it yet, and it's only going to touch more and more and more workplaces as they go forward. Anything that kids are doing, I mean, I teach at Johnson & Wales, anything that kids are doing in college, I have my student, I teach in an ed program, Masters of Ed program at Johnson & Wales, and I have my students do their lesson plans now on AI. And I've supplemented other activities because those used to be their highly weighted ones. But let's be honest, I'm sending these people out into the world that they're going to have curriculums where lesson plans are already done for them to follow, or they're going to have AI at their fingertips to create a lesson that they need. So to have them sit down and actually type out a lesson, they're not going to do it anyway. They're going to use AI. So I do that. But it's everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. So we just have to kind of embrace it like it or not. So I want to now kind of flip the switch. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Got talked at you for a while already.
I always used to make escape rooms for my curriculum, and it really took me, quite a few hours to make the whole thing. And I learned the other day, if I break it up into, paragraphs, and I take a paragraph and I dragged it and I put it in AI, and I asked them to make an escape room for that section, and boom, out came the questions. Grabbed another paragraph, and I had my escape room done in 20 minutes. Like, it was so easy.
Yeah.
Made my life easy.
Lori, I have a website that I follow that the guy sends out. He creates escape rooms and then he sends them out already done. I'll find that link and send it to you. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah. I have a bunch of teachers that are on a list for that when that comes out. So I'll find that for you.
Okay, thank you.
I already put a note in my book for you.
Okay.
So I want to talk about two different skills. Digital literacy is one set of skills. Digital citizenship is a different set of skills. So it says educator facing and student facing. It's not really that clean. It's really more about on the student facing one, it's the educator supporting student learning versus understanding what teachers we can do with it. But digital literacy is understanding literally, how do I navigate these platforms? How do I evaluate information? How do I create information? How do I use the digital device itself? How do I use the tool? How do I use Conmigo? How do I use Brisk? That digital literacy, it's like being a literate driver of a car. You know how to do it. You know what the tool is. You know how to press on the gas and the brake. You know how to use it. So that's what digital literacy is, just to understand what it can and cannot do and how to navigate safely around it. Digital citizenship, on the other hand, is really more important, and it's what we don't spend as much time on. But it's that ethics and using it responsibly, making sure kids understand you cannot copy paste and just say it's your work, that we have to make kids responsible for citing it. If you want to cut and paste, and that's part of my rubric that says you can cut and paste, fine, but you also have to cite it. Just like when you were using encyclopedias back in the day, we had to cite the encyclopedias or the book that we took information from. You have to just cite where you're getting the information from. And to be aware of what we're putting out there in the world. When we say that one's digital footprint, what are we putting out there in the world? And people can search my Facebook page and find out what I'm looking at on Facebook. They can see what groups I belong to on Facebook. So it's important to me. I don't use Facebook a whole lot for my personal, because I don't feel like my personal stuff needs to be out there. So it's more about what I do for work and things that I find that are interesting related to work is more my Facebook page. I have an Instagram page, and that's where my private family stuff is, because it's a closed page to just my family. So I'm aware of where my information is going, and I make choices about that. And we should be teaching kids to do that as well. The best example, I was working in with 11th and 12th graders at our charter school, and they were creating projects on event planning and tourism. And we were talking before they got started, they were going to be able to use AI products to, create these events and concerts and mountain climbing expeditions and whatever. So we were going to have them using AI, and we had set very strict protocols on it. And I said, well, I started off by saying, like, what kind of things do you use with AI now? And like, oh, we don't use AI. I said, oh, okay. So you don't ever go on those platforms at all? And they're like, no. I said, this is a safe place. I'm going to ask you to use AI. So if you use it, it really will help me because I'll know that you already have some expertise to it. And I think what they thought was I'm trying to catch them doing something wrong. And finally they like, oh, so like, it's okay if I use AI? I'm like, well, as long as you're using it appropriately, yes. So now tell me how you're using it. And this one little guy said, well, I really don't use it at all. He's really the only thing I use on my phone is my Instagram page. I said, okay. And I'm looking at his Instagram page, and there's an AI chatbot at the top of the Instagram page because they can search for stuff, and that's an AI chatbot. So I didn't point it out yet. And then we went on with the lesson, and then he looked at me. He said, "Wait a minute, I have a question." And I said, "What?" He's looking at his phone. He picks it up and he says, "This thing at the top that I can like put in information and like ask questions, and it brings me to what I want. Is that AI?" I said, "It sure is." Oh. So does it have all that information? I said, it sure does. So you want to be more careful about like what you're doing. So that was interesting. And then of course, we respecting others' rights and privacy online. If somebody shares something online, I always ask, is it okay if I share that? I really liked your resources. Is it okay if I share that? Because it's theirs and they shared it. I want to make sure, is it from another site or is this your work? I want to make sure that if it's your work, I give you credit for it. Before I share it. That positive and respectful stuff. Our kids are having trouble being positive and respectful to each other when they're face to face in our classrooms. Never mind when they're online and there's no repercussions if they say something inappropriate until the next day they get at school and they get yelled at by the friend or the family or whatever. So just be positive, be respectful, be kind online, just like you were sitting in a classroom with students, and to reinforce that. And then the last one is a little bit more difficult. To have the kids understand that when they are online, that they are a participant in a digital community. What they say, good, bad, or other, becomes part of that digital community, and it doesn't ever go away. Even if you say, I'm going to delete that, so you're in your Google Classroom or you're in your Google Drive and you delete that, that is gone because that's how Google works. We've created something and it's gone. But if you have that same process when you're on Instagram or Facebook or on a website and you say, oh, I'm just going to delete that and that's gone. Not so much. Depends on the privacy settings of each individual platform. And so we do need to teach kids to look at the privacy settings on platforms. Do they keep my data? Are they keeping my email address? Are they keeping my IP address? Are they keeping my location? Do they know that I'm in school now and that I'm at home and that I'm on a bus? That's stuff that kids are like, when you tell kids about that, they're like, wait a minute, it tracks me? It does. It can track your IP address because you're using a phone and your phone has got an IP address and it has location information on it. So it's interesting. We were going to there's not enough people to do this activity, so we're going to skip that. Oh, that's a duplicate. Interesting. Okay. The person that developed this, I'm going to go through this part a little bit quickly because I'm not sure that this is as user-friendly for you folks. But if you have any questions on this, let me know. One of the ladies Carrie that helped write this session with me had just finished her doctorate on AI in education. That was her research project, was AI in education. So, she literally she graduated during the time that we were writing this session. And so she had all this theory and all this stuff. And I'm like, we can't put all that stuff in here. This is not a place for your dissertation. This is, training. This is not, people don't want to see all your research. They want to know the tips and tools and the best information. So we drilled it down to like 3 or 4 slides. But basically, this is basically what we've already talked about. Basic computer skills, that's the digital literacy piece. Information literacy, how to navigate around, how to be appropriately communicating and collaborating with others online, how to create content that's appropriate, it's not copyrighted, or if you create something brand spanking new, which we all can do now with images, that if you want it to be protected, to protect it, and to be safe online, that's digital literacy. So she's just got another kind of cutesy graphic for this. But this is the piece that is a little bit more interesting. In her research, all of the articles about using AI technology in schools is talking about this REP idea. REP representing respect, educate, and protect. The kids that should be aware that they always have to demonstrate respect for others, that this is a platform for me to be educated or to educate others, and that I should be protecting myself and protecting others. And if the kids understood this rep, that everybody benefits. So I thought that was a unique way of looking at this. And that's really more towards the digital citizenship piece. It's like, how do we conduct ourselves when we're online? So she goes into a little bit more detail here, which I'm going to skip because you have the slide deck and you can read it if this is something you're interested in. But the very basic is there are a lot of laws out there now about digital use, and we should make sure that we are applying those and that other platforms are applying those to the platforms. Digital access is wide open nowadays, and digital etiquette, again, just making sure that we use it responsibly online. The educating ourselves and others, again, is the literacy piece. Make sure that you know how to use the tools and that you're using them appropriately, that we're communicating appropriately with others, that we give everybody a chance to have a voice while we're online. And the commerce piece is to understand that just about every platform that the kids are using, and the kids need to know that, is somebody's making money. Now we use a lot of free things, and Cranston's broke, so we're always using free platforms. And the free platforms are the ones that are most at risk for privacy breaches. So we have to be very careful about what we're using. But there are plenty out there that meet the privacy concerns that we have and also are free, like Conmigo, Brisk. Those are all wonderful tools, and they're completely free and they're very protected. But kids need to understand that most things that are out there, they understand it because they understand people that are on YouTube that are making millions of dollars because they want to be a social media platform person. They want to create social media platforms themselves because that they know that people are making millions of dollars on YouTube and having a YouTube channel. So they understand the commerce piece. So that's important for them to know. And then the last part of the rep is the protecting themselves and others. Again, understanding my rights and responsibilities, and I want others to respect that and demonstrate the same rights and responsibilities while using. Protecting ourselves is the security piece, and the health and welfare, again, is we don't tolerate bullying in the classroom. We shouldn't be tolerating it online. So I'm going to show this video. Let's pray that this works. This is, believe it or not, Microsoft, and these are all free. You can go to Microsoft and get these. It's if you just do a Google search or an AI search for Microsoft's Minecraft AI lessons. These are amazing lessons, and the kids love Minecraft at all grade levels. But they're amazing lessons on AI, digital literacy, and digital citizenship. So let's see if I can get this to work. If I will fix that. But if you were if you want to introduce AI to kids, this is a really cool, it's about 2 minutes long, but it will show the kids, wow, hold on one second, there we go. It will show the kids, the analogy is, if you want to learn how to play basketball, you have to practice basketball, practice basketball, practice basketball. If you want to use AI, you have to practice how to use it. And it's 2 minutes. And I haven't met a kid yet who doesn't like Minecraft. I personally don't like it. I'm not a gamer, so that doesn't intrigue me. But there's an entire series of information and little mini lessons, 100% free. And if you just do Minecraft AI, Microsoft Minecraft AI, you'll find a ton of stuff. It's amazing. I also have it linked in the resources at the end of this. Okay, I feel like I've drilled all this to death, and I've been talking for 50 minutes. So I want to get to the activity. This is kind of a rehashing, I think, of what we already have talked about. So I want to show you something. This is different. So you haven't seen this yet. So, whoops. So ISTE, the International Society for Tech Educators, have come up with standards for students to using technology by grade level. It starts with pre-K, believe it or not, and goes up to grade 6, because it's basically grade 6 to 12 are the same set of standards. And I'm going to demonstrate this and show you, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of go into your own grade level and look at it and see what it looks like. But when I say that I'm going to develop a lesson, I always look at these standards. So I'm going to give you some examples of what this looks like. So let me show you what this looks like. It's so cool. Make a copy. Okay. So this is, you can see at the very bottom, it has all the grade levels. So I'm going to pick on pre-K. And when I look at pre-K, what I've done for you is I've highlighted certain things in this purpley color on all of the tabs. Those are the ones that are the basis of digital literacy and digital citizenship. These are the privacy and how to use technology appropriately. But look at this at the beginning, at pre-K. Understanding principles. I know how to turn the computer on. I know how to turn it off. I know that I have to keep my password safe and secure. In other words, if I use a QR code to log on to my computer, that I don't share that QR code with anybody else, that this is specifically for me and it's mine and I get to protect it. And then how to get to a particular website. Like in some of our pre-Ks, they might have a Google Classroom. Now, in many of our pre-Ks, the teacher is setting up the computers for them. But if not, if the kids, towards the end of the year are kind of like, I can do this by myself. Okay, here you go. This is the way to do it. And then you'll see down at the very bottom here, it says opening and navigating a website. So the Google Classroom. Pre-K. But think about it. If they understand in pre-K that this is my QR code to get onto my personal information, and I'm not supposed to share this with anybody else, that sets them up for understanding privacy and security. I'm going to jump up to first grade and show you. When they're, again, purple is the stuff about citizenship and how to use the devices. This is how to access, so understanding how to access information. How to use email, because they sometimes can email their teachers through their Google Classroom. Being able to read and write using the platform. So we're working with our first and second graders about typing, because we have come to the conclusion that they'll do better on RICAST if they could actually type, because they're losing so much testing time by actually going like this and saying, where is this key? So if they could actually type appropriately. So to have them start working on that. Digital etiquette, understanding what cyberbullying is, that if you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't send them a message or create an image that's inappropriate to share. So again, this is first grade. Understanding opening and navigating. Yep. Our first graders, all of my first graders that in Cranston now know how to turn their computer on, log on with their QR code. First graders are still using QR codes. They log on with their QR code pass. They navigate to Google, they navigate to Google Classroom, they navigate to their teacher's Google Classroom. And most of the classrooms that I've been in, the kiddos have 4 or 5 different classrooms. They have their teacher's classroom. They have, it's like music is a classroom. I think I've seen art as a classroom and phys ed as a classroom. So they've got different teachers, they have classrooms and they can navigate into them to do different things. The first graders know how to do that. They can log on to their Google Classroom. They know what classroom they're going into for what purpose. And now they know how to navigate through Google Classroom. That is such a beneficial skill, because as the tasks get more complicated in Google Classroom, as they get older, you don't have to worry about those precursor skills of, okay, I already know how to drive the car. Now I know how to learn. I need to know how to drive the car on the highway kind of thing. It gets faster and more complicated, but I've got the tools. So and now I'm going to go up to the 6th grade. So 6th grade, you can see it's much more complicated. Now we're talking still about the same things: communication, emails, and social media. That's from the beginning. But now we're also doing digital law. We're doing more about their rights and responsibilities. Now we're talking about health and wellness. And digital security is kind of always there. In this next part here, internet search strategies. Now they're older, and in our high schools, this still wouldn't be working for our we don't really have our elementary kids doing a lot of search unless they're sitting next to me searching, but our high school kids certainly are. So understanding, that's why the 6 is 6 through 12. It goes all the way. Understanding how to search, understanding and evaluating what it is they're seeing online. See, it says reliability of websites. So evaluate the reliability of the websites. I know that Ellen probably has done this, but I don't know if anybody else has ever seen the website about the tree octopus. Has anybody seen the tree octopus website? If you want some entertainment, just Google tree octopus and see the website that comes up. It's an absolutely 100% looks like a legit website on the tree octopus. Lives in Seattle. It came out of the waters and climbed the trees and decided it liked being in the trees. You know, it tells you what it eats, what it, you know, what it's afraid of, how it mates, the whole thing. It's a whole scientific looking website, including links to other journal articles. And oh, by the way, at the bottom, there used to be, when it first came out, there used to be to donate to help preserve this habitat of the tree frog, the tree octopus. You could click on it and actually donate money, and they got into trouble for that because the site is 100% false, 100% false. And I use that site all the time to show kids how to, even young kids, to show kids how just because it's online doesn't mean it's true. Like, think about this. And then some of the, when you delve deep into the website, you'll see that some of the images, they really look real. You see an octopus in a tree. And this was developed 15 years or more ago. So it was pretty amazing imagery for not having AI. And then some of the pictures you can see are like, oh, okay, that's so not true. But it's a good way of teaching kids how what they see online is not necessarily true. So if you've never seen that tree octopus, Google that one, because that's a giggle and a half. And if you really want kids to understand that what they see online is not actually 100% accurate, that's a really good example. Some of our librarians, I think Heidi, the librarian over at our Cranston High School East, has a series of websites that are all fake, just so the kids she can use that to teach kids what is fake and not fake. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop talking for a minute and get a drink of water. And what I want you to do is, I'm going to take this, site. I already have a copy. Let me take this copy. So open up the ISTE standards and just kind of take a look at your grade level and see what you think. We're going to talk about how, I want you to basically kind of look at some of those and then pick one that we're going to kind of talk about. So you're going to bring to the table and say, oh, I could pick this one and this is what it would look like for my classroom. It's about 7:33. I'm going to give you like five minutes or so. Just kind of glance at your grade level and think about, pick one of them that you think that you could, or you probably already address in your classroom somehow, or if not, something new that you would teach. And then we're just going to share out. So I'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes. Anybody want more time, or do we want to debrief a bit? Thumbs up if we're okay. Okay. So what do you think about the ISTE standards? Is that helpful? Does that give you ideas? Does that validate some of the stuff that you already do in your classroom?
Well, there's a lot in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something that's going to be touched on here and there and not taught directly, except maybe in library classes, which is where I'm going to put the next plug.
Yeah.
Many of so I'm K to 5, but also aware of what's going on right up to 12 in the library department. And just sort of as a plug to that, everybody should be relying on their librarians' LibGuides for the safe searching, especially encouraging the kids at K through 5 to use the LibGuide, where teachers already and the district is paying for good websites to use with your kids, such as Culturegrams, World Book Student, World Book Kids, World Book for the older grades, the databases that we have, so that they're not just searching Google for information, that they have to make that extra effort to determine whether or not it's quality work that they're reading. Because the district does, and most districts, I don't know if everybody's from Cranston, but the district does pay hefty prices. Trust me, I just got the bill today and almost choked, but in order to have access to all of these things to help keep our kids safe. And I think teaching them to go there first, because their inclination is to go to Google first, trying to teach them to go to their library online presence first will help them achieve a lot of these standards right from the get-go, because they're choosing to be safe just by going to the library website, by using World Book Student instead of Google to find out information about the person that they're doing their biography project on, or their animal project on, or using the databases that have professional journals that have been professionally reviewed, rather than something that somebody just put on Google.
Right. Yeah.
So, yes.
You bring up some really good points, Ellen, and I appreciate that very much. It is, I mean, I do rely on our library media specialists to give me some helping hands every once in a while. And I do know that we do have that huge site of LibGuides that you have curated for us, and that it's not used as probably widely as it should be. But the other piece of that is it's a great way of showing the kids the difference between something that comes off of a reliable site versus something that comes off of a Google search. And Google is pretty good. And for us in Cranston, we have the gold standard of Google. So we pay for a lot of money for our Google platform because we've got access to all sorts of stuff. But that doesn't mean that when we Google something that we're getting any better result than somebody that has the basic level of Google.
Correct.
And so that Google search is not necessarily as accurate as kids would like to think. And I say to them every once in a while, well, if you go into YouTube and you're looking for, how to change a tire, do you think every video that's on YouTube that shows you how to change a tire is going to tell you exactly the right steps you need to do that? Or do you think some of them are better or worse than others? They're like, oh, well, there's probably some that are better at it than others. If it's a mechanic telling you how to do it, or versus, some dad in the backwoods of Chicago, like it could be different. Exactly. Yep. So if YouTube could have some variability, then anything on the website on the web can have some variability. So to go to those protected sites, especially when somebody or a agency like a school district has curated stuff for you, that's the place where we should be going. So you're right. Thank you for reminding us of.
It's also ad-free, and the monetary piece is taken away from the situation. So, a lot of Google searches are who gets that produce your results are the more popular ones, or the ones that are want to get more money, so they're paying to be at the top of your screen. But by the district paying for the safe sites, that piece of the puzzle is removed right away. Yes. So we know that what they're accessing is accurate and safe and void of advertisement and monetary values for the people on the other end, et cetera.
Yep. And just remind folks, how do kids access that? Where do they find it?
Yeah, so the librarians would all teach it to them during class time. The librarian Google Classrooms all have links to it in there, and in Clever. So like if you go to my Clever, if a student is in one of my students would have my Clever Classroom, it's going to bring them right to there. My Google Classroom has a link for it right to there. And by the time they get to middle school and high school, they know because that orientation sessions with the librarians, that's one of the first things they're going to show them how to do.
Yep. Thank you for that. I know that in other districts, it's similar, that the library media specialists have similar processes in other districts as well.
Yeah, especially in the state of Rhode Island, because we all belong to the same consortium. And as long as your district is willing to pay for some of those fees, you have access to the same things. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the public librarians of Rhode Island also have, which is free to every Rhode Islander, not just in your school district, access to many of the same things
Right.
Through Ask RI. So there are easy ways to get your kids to the safe places is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. So how about anybody else? Anybody else see anything that says, oh yeah, I already do that in my classroom. Yay, me. It makes you feel good. Or, oh, I could easily integrate that into my classroom. It's 7:45 and we're tired.
Digital citizenship probably is another easy one that you can integrate into anything. Like anytime you put the kids online, just have that little extra time that you say to them. Remember, when you're making comments in Google Classroom, they have to be friendly and kind and productive and not...
Because everybody can see them.
Because everybody can see them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a time for just chit-chatting or...
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was in a first grade classroom today. We're doing project-based learning on animals that are native to Rhode Island. And I had created a slide deck for the students, and I had put a bunch of sites for them to navigate to so that they could look up different things. And so I had some videos from YouTube Kids that they could see and watch, and I had a bunch of different things on their sites. And one of them recognized YouTube Kids, which, okay, that's a good site. I'm glad to know that your mom and dad are using that, because that's a pretty decent site. So he automatically, though, he went up, started a new tab, put YouTube Kids, and he was off and running. He was going to go someplace else, not researching his animal at all. And literally, in the time it took for me to walk, because I was watching him do it, to one corner of the room, to the front group, to get to him, to say, that's not what we're doing today. You need to be on my resources only, not opening up your new tabs. I was like, I can't believe how fast he did that, and he navigated off. And unfortunately, it was just to YouTube Kids, and he wasn't going to see anything terribly inappropriate, but it could be inappropriate for his grade level. I was in first grade. I'm like, no. That's not why I gave you a computer to search around like that. I gave you a computer to look exactly at my resources. Just stay there. But it's quick. They're quick. So, okay. I just want to share a couple more things, and then I just want to show you some resources and things that you can get. So let me just share my screen one more time, and this is only going to take us a few minutes, and then we're going to be done. So we'll be done a little bit early today. Okay, I'm just going to explain a couple of things that are in your slide deck, that if you've taken the slide deck and copied and pasted that, just a couple of other resources that I want to just let you know about real quick. In the resources, which is like slide, I don't know, 30 or 31, something like that. In the resources, there is a new document that AFT has just come out with. It's called Common Sense Guardrails for Technology Use in Classrooms. It came out about a year and a half ago, and they have just revamped it. And in March of 2025, it's kind of like good best practices. One of the things that we're trying to get, AFT is trying to get out, is just have people look at it and give us feedback on it. So if you look at it in any sense of, quickly, it's 24 pages long, I'll be honest with you, quickly glance at it. If there's anything good, bad, or ugly that you think is in it, please email me, because we are looking for feedback on it. I want to just say that make sure that you are aware of district policies on AI. That's critically important. We don't want teachers to get into trouble. I'm a union person. We don't want teachers to get into trouble for going off the rails and doing something outside of the current policy on AI. Districts are hypersensitive about it because they're afraid they're going to get sued by parents when kids are using AI. So because we know that they're hypersensitive to it, just know that what your district policy is on AI. For those of you that are from Cranston, the Cranston policy is pretty simple. We really just used our tech use policy that we already had in place, and we added 2 little sub paragraphs to it. And the first one is that AI, it will be used at teacher discretion. That's it. I mean, it's really, I mean, it has a little bit more wording to it, but that's the big quote. Teacher discretion. We don't want our elementary kids using it. We do not want our middle school using it, except for at 8th grade Canva. That's it. Our high school students are free to use it because it's all the platforms now that we're using that we have approved for the district are 13 and above. So that's high school. So our high school kids can use it at the discretion of the teacher, not the kids' discretion of the teacher. Teacher tells you when you can use it, how you're going to use it, and why you're going to use it. And if the teacher says you're not using it, then the students are expected not to do that. Now, remember, this is in our handbook. And so that means that the parents are signing off on that in the beginning of the year. So that if we then say, okay, your kid is using AI for every homework assignment, we have that to fall back on. Parents, you sign this handbook. You have to help reinforce that the kid can't use AI to do their tasks. So know what your policy is. The other thing that we did in Cranston is that we came up with one way to cite AI. So both APA and MLA have ways to cite AI. They've given you models of how to do that. We found that if we looked at it, we found that the MLA format for citing AI was probably the easiest for students to understand. It was very clear. This is how you cite it if you're referencing it in your text, and this is how you cite it as a resource at the end in the bibliography. It's pretty clear cut. It's pretty simple. And so we created that model, and it's right in our policy so that parents can see how to cite AI as well. So that's why we put it right in the policy. There is the Cranston Public Schools policy is in your resources in the slide deck. You're welcome to look at it. It's also online. The other one that I put in the slide deck is Greenville, North Carolina. And the reason why I put that there is because ours is this big and Greenville's is huge. So if you're looking for more complex and you want more details and you want to think about using some of their regulations, like even as a classroom policy or protocol for your classroom, you can look at Greenville. Greenville, North Carolina is actually being cited as one of the ones that is doing it really well. And they have a very complex website and they have very complex procedures and protocols, but they're, people around the country that are looking at policies are saying, yeah, they're doing it good. When the rest of us are saying it's going to change so fast that they're going to have to be updating that website constantly every time a new AI platform comes out. So ours is pretty simple and we think it's going to work and it'll be responsive to even AI changing. So we haven't had to change it based on any new things that came out. We have talked, one of the things that when we talk about ethics and protocols, is anybody a high school teacher, teach high school? Okay, for our high school folks, there's a protocol in there called Artificial Intelligence and Academic Integrity. It was written by Ashley Burns, who's an instructional coach that teaches ELA in Cranston High School East. Our high school people are, clearly really concerned about plagiarism. And she created this slide deck that she is actually using with kids. It's a series of lessons that she does with kids over the course of a few days at the beginning of every semester. She's now done it for 4 semesters and has tweaked it a little bit here and there. It's much smaller than it used to be. But it's a really good, she sets the protocol. This is how she sets protocol. This is how you're going to use it. This is what you're going to use it for. This is what you need to know about it. And she's absolutely shared it she's allowed us to share it out very widely. I've shared it out a lot. So if you're looking at something for our older kids or especially the high school kids that are actually using AI, that's if you want to set protocols, you don't want to think about it, you can use Ashley's. She's welcome. You're welcome to use it. Of course, if you've been with us before, we've done Conmigo and Brisk and all of those things. The ISTE standards by grade level, if there's something in there that you found intriguing that you thought, oh yeah, I kind of do that, but I could use some new ideas of how to promote that ISTE standard, or, oh, that one was really interesting. I hadn't thought about that at my grade level. I wonder how I could do that. Go into Conmigo or Brisk or, any of those tools and copy and paste that standard right into those lesson planning things. And as soon as you copy that standard into the lesson planning tool, it'll create a lesson for you on that standard and what it looks like at your grade level. So, merge tools. That's a wonderful thing, is to merge tools. And the last thing is I tried to show you the Minecraft video, and I knew that was going to be problematic. But one of the resources, there's 2 pages of resources. The second page of resources is all Microsoft resources. And I know most of us are not Microsoft district. In Rhode Island, we're all Google districts. But there are a lot of free Microsoft things. And the site there is AI Literacy from Minecraft. That's the Microsoft Minecraft site that I was talking about earlier. There's a whole bunch of lessons in there at all appropriate for all grade levels at the AI Literacy from Minecraft. It is a Microsoft product, but you can get it. It's online. You just click on the link in my resources and it'll take you to it. So you don't even have to have a Microsoft account, although teachers you can sign up for your own free Microsoft account. They'll give anybody a Microsoft account. So sign up if you want it. Then you can try Copilot. But the Minecraft stuff, kids are very engaged with that. The kids really do like those. So if you want to teach some basic AI literacy skills or responsibility with using AI, those series of lessons I've seen them in action and kids really do relate to them. Any last questions, thoughts? It's 7:57. We're done. Questions, thoughts? Thanks for joining us. This was not as fun as all the tips and tools and things that Pete likes to do with you, but this is some of that background knowledge that we just felt like at this point, we needed to kind of take a step back and just say, don't forget, there are some rules of the road, and these are really important skills as much as the tools are fun. These are important things to consider. Any other thoughts or comments? Anything else? It's 8 o'clock, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking through.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.